And then we're also going to go live on Facebook, which is great. We can find that on our 1,000 Friends page. We had an event set up, but Facebook was being difficult this morning. So we have a new event now going live on our Facebook page. And so, yeah, we're going to give everyone just one more minute. Thank you, everyone, for making time. And happy Transit Equity Day to everybody who's here with us today. We're really excited about all of the excellent efforts that have been going on around the state. And this is really quite a big year for us. So I will take one more sip of coffee and wait till 9:01 and we'll get things started. All right, I see that it is 9:01. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I just want to, welcome everybody and thank you for making time. Again, a happy Transit Equity Day. My name is Greg May. I'm the Transportation Policy Director at 1,000 Friends of Wisconsin, and we're excited to be celebrating the 4th annual Transit Equity Day here in Wisconsin. Like I said, I'm the Transportation Policy Director at 1,000 Friends of Wisconsin. We are a group dedicated to making Wisconsin communities more sustainable and advocating for transit wherever we can. The Transit Equity Day is organized nationally by the Labor Network for Sustainability, who has just put out a new report today called Invest in Transit Equity, Invest in Transit Workers. So we're really excited about that. Just some background, Transit Equity Day is a day to celebrate Rosa Parks' birthday. And so on this day, we celebrate not only her act of resistance, but the right for all to have affordable and efficient public transit. So there's so many great events that are happening around today, and a number of proclamations and resolutions being made in our local communities. We're waiting on Governor Evers to post his proclamation on his website. We have seen the signed copy, so we're excited that Governor Evers is recognizing Transit Equity Day today, March 4th or February 4th. And as Transit Equity Day across Wisconsin, and a number of mayors in Wisconsin, including in Madison, Eau Claire, Crosse, Oshkosh, Appleton, Neenah, and Menasha have also named February 4th Transit Equity Day to commemorate Rosa Parks' birthday. And so we're going to hear from some excellent guests who are here to celebrate all the excellent values that transit provides to our communities, to celebrate riders and drivers of transit. And so we're going to hear from our excellent guests that include Senator Jeff Smith from District 31, Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, Phil Swanhorst, who's a former transit driver and a member of ATU, and Cathy Van Maren, an amazing local activist in La Crosse. So without any further ado, I'll stop talking now and I'll pass it over to Senator Jeff Smith from District 31, who has been a tireless advocate of transit in the legislature. Jeff, would you like to take it away? And you're muted, Jeff. I am muted. There we go. Good thing they have these notices. Unmute to myself. So anyway, I am really proud to be able to be here today, and I was proud to introduce a statewide resolution on January 21st to designate February 4th as Transit Equity Day. We know it's, as Greg said, this is the day that of celebration for transit equity because of the attention that Rosa Parks brought to this issue, and it would be her birthday, and I think what 109th birthday or something like that if she were here today. She's an iconic figure, as we know, for the movement for social justice and racial equality, and played a major role in the inception of the civil rights movement that ended legal segregation in the United States. And I say legal segregation, but we certainly still have a lot of issues we're dealing with. And, and especially during Black History Month, it is important to recognize the heroes like Rosa Parks that advanced the equality in our country's history. But one that I know that for a lot of people, transit equity and Rosa Parks deeds are sometimes
glossed over because you don't really realize and forget how dramatically segregated and unfair our country was to people of color back in 60 years ago. So I just want to remind folks that when someone of color was forced to sit in the back of a bus, it wasn't just because, that it was a pride thing or it was, this is where you belong. It was because the toxic fumes of a bus were in the rear of the bus, and white folks didn't want to sit in the area where there was toxic fumes, and that's where they just decided that's where people of color needed to sit. That's just a fact. Just as they were also on a train back then forced to sit in the front car, which had also the most toxic fumes and the most likely cause for or possibility of injury if there was an accident would be the front car. This is reality, and this is why this is so important and what makes someone like Rosa Parks a hero still today. And the required expansion of public transit to address the climate crisis as well provides an unprecedented opportunity now to continue the tradition of Rosa Parks and the civil rights movement by ensuring that transit systems are affordable, accessible, and that people of color, economically disadvantaged people, people with disabilities, and other marginalized populations have full access to the benefits of public transit. And as I just demonstrated, how toxic it was back in those days, we cannot go backwards, and we cannot afford, and we must afford to actually provide the equal opportunity for everyone in this country to have access to transit, because it is so important, and it is becoming more and more important as we address climate change. And we are once again turning our attention to how public transit is going to be the movement of the future. So thanks, Greg, for letting me be here again. And I certainly am hoping that our statewide resolution actually gets a chance to pass, and we are able to bring more attention to this important issue.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Senator Smith, for being able to join us today, and for your efforts to get that statewide resolution passed, and for your long advocacy for transit in Wisconsin. Now we're going to throw it over to Madison Mayor Satya Rose Conway, who's at the local level has proclaimed Transit Equity Day today, and is a tireless advocate for transit in our local community here in Madison. So I'll throw it over to you, Mayor. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks to 1,000 Friends for organizing this. I also want to thank Senator Smith for your work in the legislature. It's great to have such a strong advocate there. I was really proud to proclaim today Transit Equity Day in the city of Madison. I also want to thank the cities of Eau Claire, Crosse, Oshkosh, Appleton, Neenah, and Menasha for joining me, and of course the governor as well, in making a proclamation. Equity in public transit is a top priority for the city of Madison. We know that Metro Transit is a critical transportation resource for low-income and BIPOC communities, and yet those communities are not always well served by transit here in Madison. Historically, our transit system has best served people commuting in peak hours to the Capitol Square and UW campus and back. BIPOC folks were more likely to have long transit times, more transfers than other bus riders. And during the pandemic, it became even clearer to us what an essential service Metro Transit is. Our buses got healthcare workers to our hospitals on a daily basis, despite the dramatic financial impact of the pandemic. And we know that as we build back better, we have to invest in making Madison's transportation system more equitable. That's why the city of Madison is investing in bus rapid transit, which will provide fast, frequent service across our city, and a metro network redesign, which will increase access to employment and amenities, especially for low-income and BIPOC folks. Taken together, these two projects will provide better service for folks who work second and third shift and who don't work downtown. They will reduce the need to wait for transfers and reduce the risk of missing a transfer. And they will increase the frequency of service in many places. And importantly, to the senator's point, the bus rapid transit system will be primarily and possibly totally electric vehicles, reducing pollution in our community and the impacts on riders. We're working on a system that is fast, frequent, easy, and sustainable, and that allows people to access employment, education, entertainment, and more. As we mark Transit Equity Day here, we must acknowledge the historic discrimination and current inequities and push for a better, more equitable future. And while we acknowledge Rosa Parks on this day, we must also acknowledge the numerous people that came before her and worked with her, especially those that did the organizing that laid the groundwork for her civil disobedience. Today, we have to pick up that mantle and organize for better and more equitable transit in all of our cities. Thank you again for being here today, recognizing this important day, and thank you for staying in the fight for better transit. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for joining us today and for your tireless advocacy for transit in Madison. As a public transit rider here in Madison, I appreciate it as someone who chooses to ride the bus. I'm excited for bus rapid transit. So thank you for all your work on that. Now I'm going to throw it over to Phil Swanhorse, who is a former transit driver and a member of ATU, I believe Local 1310. You can correct me if that's wrong, Phil. And he is been around since day one. This is the 4th annual Transit Equity Day, and Phil has been working on this for many years and a great advocate. Phil?
Well, good morning, and you are correct, Senator Smith. Happy 109th birthday to Rosa Parks, February 4th. This is the day we celebrate her beautiful, beautiful stand to not accept the norm, but to move forward in a more progressive and equitable society. Good morning, everyone. Again, I am Phil Swanhorse, President Emeritus of ATU, Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1310. I am a retired bus driver, and I proudly, for over a year now, have been serving on the Eau Claire Transit Commission as the only union member they've ever had, and the only former bus driver they've ever had. And I enjoy bringing a voice that has been long needed to that entity that supports our city council here in Eau Claire. Just a little bit of history about Transit Equity Day here in Eau Claire and nationwide. I have been very fortunate. My union, ATU International, invited me to a conference in the fall of 2017 at their headquarters just outside of DC in Silver Springs. And we met with LSN, the Labor Network for Sustainability, which brought about 24 different local unions, not only from the US, but from around the world. And we decided climate, equity, and numerous other issues should be addressed, and how can we do that nationally and internationally. And the consensus was Rosa Parks' birthday. So the following February 4th, 2018, was the first official Rosa Parks birthday for climate and equity. It was the next year, 2019, that we called it Transit Equity Day. 3 years ago in 2020 was the first year in Eau Claire. I believe we were the only one, after my nagging and pestering, got to recognize it locally. And it got recognized by number one, putting a poster of Rosa Parks on the front seat of every city transit bus, along with a red rose. It was a live red rose. The next year, several other transit locals across the state of Wisconsin and nationally continued to join us, and we again placed that red rose along with their poster and gave handouts to passengers who were interested on what this day was all about and what it means. We also had in 2021, the city gave a proclamation providing guidance of what this day was all about, and as well did Eau Claire County supervisors. Now this year, beautifully, it's even grown some more. I went out personally myself yesterday and bought the red roses because I know where they go at the shop because I was a bus driver. And they are on the buses this morning traveling around our city. But we went a step further. I wanted to emphasize equity, and beautifully, statewide, regionally, and nationally, we are emphasizing the importance of equity by placing a red rose on every paratransit vehicle in the city of Eau Claire. And there's more of them than there are transit buses. So there's a lot of red roses riding around our community this morning with below zero temperatures. But my God, I think it's a good deal and a good way to recognize Rosa Parks and to recognize equity in our community, because that's what this day is all about. Thank you, Greg, for giving me the opportunity to spout off a little bit, and I will hand her back to you.
Thank you so much, Phil. He's been there since day one, and it's grown year over year, and we can give a lot of credit to Phil and the folks in Eau Claire, especially, who have been doing great work on this issue for a number of years now. It's so exciting to see it grow, year over year. Just a note as well, we've posted a link in the chat to the press release, an online version of the press release, and as well as a link to the Labor Network for Sustainability's website. Lastly, before getting to questions, I'm going to throw it over to Cathy Van Maren, who is an advocate in La Crosse. La Crosse has done some excellent work this year, and we're really excited to have Cathy be a part of our growing coalition. Cathy?
Hi, thanks, Greg. Yes, I'm Cathy Van Maren. I'm with the La Crosse Area Transit Advocates, and we've been celebrating Transit Equity Days for since Monday, actually, with educational displays, transit riders' stories, thanking our transit drivers, and riding the bus with our elected leaders. But today we're focusing on Rosa Parks, honoring her work in the movement to desegregate public transportation and public accommodations. Our MTU has a rose and poster on each bus. Our display at the library includes books and information about the movement. And our city, county, and mayor have all proclaimed today Transit Equity Day in honor of Rosa Parks. And we continue to highlight inequities in our transportation system. For example, recently the Wisconsin DOT estimated that 30 to 40% of City of La Crosse residents older than 15 are non-drivers. Now, we're lucky to have a bus system, and we're really lucky to have administrators and elected officials who support it, but it currently does not provide the same level of access to jobs, services, shopping, and other aspects of life as a car driver would have. I've talked to several non-drivers who couldn't take or had to leave a job because bus service didn't match their hours or didn't go to a workplace. I know older people who can't attend social and recreational activities because bus service ends before the programs do. I know car drivers who want to take the bus because it is better for the environment, but sometimes it just takes way too long and they drive instead. And we have areas including parks, polling places, elder housing, and workplaces where there is no bus service. So this is not the fault of the transit providers. It results in part from not prioritizing transportation and transit equity in planning, zoning, policies, and budgeting. But the good news is that all can change when we educate people about the many benefits of public transit, which is greener, healthier, safer, and more equitable, connecting everyone, no matter their age, income, color, or ability, with a full life. And that's what we're doing today on Transit Equity Day, to honor and continue the work of Rosa Parks. I'm really happy to be able to be in on this call, and thank you very much, Greg. I'll throw it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Cathy, and for all the excellent work you folks are doing down in La Crosse. You just reminded me now that the DOT recently released a web tool that shows where non-drivers are in Wisconsin. I'll post the link in the chat, although it's a pretty wonky link, so I apologize in advance. But the DOT just recently released their report on non-drivers. That includes aging adults, students, low-income individuals, people with disabilities, and people like myself who prefer not to drive. And it's a mapping tool that shows that 31% of Wisconsin is considered non-drivers. So, it's more than 1 million people in Wisconsin that are considered non-drivers and for whom transit is an essential service. So I'll post that link in the chat now. I apologize in advance. It's big and long and kind of wonky, but that should take you there if you're interested. And so now, first of all, want to again thank our guests who came and spoke, and all the advocates across the state who are doing this great work. Thank you to Senator Smith and to Mayor Satya Rose Conway, to Phil Swanhorst, and to Cathy Van Maren. I can open it up now quickly to some questions. So if folks from the media who are present have some questions, they can feel free to either raise their hand and we can call on you, or to post them in the chat, and I can do my best to direct them to the appropriate source. So I just want to thank everybody again for making time and for celebrating, Rosa Parks' birthday and Transit Equity Day, and the commitment in Wisconsin to sustainable and equitable transportation. So if folks have questions, feel free to raise your hands or post them in chat, and I will get to them. And if we don't get any questions, I'll assume we did such a thorough and excellent job that we've answered everyone's questions. And I'll give folks a minute or two to write these in here. Cathy has kindly posted in a link roundup that includes the online press release you can find on the Thousand Friends website, a link to the Labor Network for Sustainability, which again is the group nationally that's organizing this group. There's activity happening around the country. I know the governor here in Wisconsin has made a proclamation naming it Transit Equity Day. And just yesterday, we found out that the governor of Minnesota has also named it Transit Equity Day in Minnesota as well. And there may be more to come as well. And so the Labor Network for Sustainability has released a new report called Invest in Transit Equity, Invest in Transit Workers, and that report can be found there. I'll give it one more minute. I know that a number of us on here have busy schedules, so I'm sure they'll be excited to get a few more minutes out of their day. Okay. Last chance. Well, fantastic. I just want to thank everybody for making time on this Friday to celebrate Rosa Parks' birthday, Transit Equity Day, and all the amazing events happening around the country to celebrate this. Keep an eye on social media. I know there's going to be a number of groups posting from around the country about Transit Equity Day. Check out the Labor Network for Sustainability's website. It should have a link to local events. I know there's some really excellent stuff happening in Milwaukee and in Eau Claire and La Crosse, and folks in Madison here are really excited to be celebrating it. Cathy's correct. They use the hashtag Transit Equity Day. Keep an eye out for it. And so we just want to thank everybody who's been participating in this day, celebrating Rosa Parks' birthday, and the right for all to affordable and efficient public transportation. So one last time, I'd like to thank Senator Jeff Smith, Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, Phil Swanhorst, and Cathy Van Maren, and all of our excellent advocates. This event has been put on by the Coalition for More Responsible Transportation, which is a group fighting for more sustainable and equitable transportation in Wisconsin. So we put the press release there. It's on our website, 1000 Friends of Wisconsin. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And have a wonderful Friday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.